because of it, because the guy was like, oh, well, do you want to do a Zoom meeting instead? I have a newborn baby. I don't want to take the chance. No chance what? It's like getting sick. I'm like, and then I had to like put it together in my mind, like what he was saying. And I was just like, so he hasn't responded to me because now that my son's sick, I guess he never wants to see me or meet me.
Oh, did you tell him your son was sick?
Yeah, I said I had to, because I had an appointment yesterday and I tried to reschedule it.
Yeah.
I can't reschedule. My son is sick. He's like, oh, can you meet on the phone? I'm like, well, can we reschedule? And he's just like, well, I don't want to take the chance. I'm like, well, how long do you want to wait? Like,
Yeah.
do you want to wait a week, 2 weeks? But so I don't know. It was weird, super weird. Most important class I tell everybody to come to, and you're the only one there.
It is important. And all of your classes are.
Oh, you are going to get a big raise. Like that. Oh, got another person.
One more person. told me this one.
We need to print a copy of the form.
What, for the broker agreement form? No. This is not that exact class. It'll be a little different. So I'm not gonna go over the buyer broker agreement. I'm gonna go over how to talk to a buyer and how to do a presentation to a buyer. Oh, there we go. People are slowly piling in. Look at that. I thought for sure I was gonna get no people in the class. How's everybody doing?
Yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Oh, Joseph's coming in. All right. All right, so we have to get this party started on time because I have some things that I have to do after this immediately. And this is a long presentation. So typically it's a long presentation and it's a process. I created this presentation not when I first got into real estate. So I got into a coaching program, and this coaching program was a super high level coaching program. It cost like $20,000 a year to be in this coaching program. And they gave me the framework of this presentation. I've kind of played with it and moved it around. But the idea of this is that you should be doing buyer presentations like you do seller presentations. Right now, I'm going to say more than 90% of real estate agents don't do any presentation. I would go with 99%. I don't know anybody that does this. When I did it back in the like 2006 is when I think I started doing this. When I started doing it, then nobody was doing it. And I don't know anybody that's doing it right now. So that being said, the goal is to sit in front of a buyer and show them your value. A lot of times with buyers right now, what they do is that they call whatever agent they want to talk to. They want to talk to the listing agent, they want to talk to an agent. They basically, so it's called the law of proximity. And the example I'll give you is that when you walk into a clothing store, somebody walks up to you and goes, "Can I help you?" What do you say? "I'm just looking." "I'm just looking." But then you walk around and you have some clothes in your hand, you want to try it on. Do you care who asked you if you needed help when you first got there? Or you just want someone with keys to let you into try your clothes on?
I do, but it is with some.
Well, I mean, are you going to go look around for that person, or are you gonna be like, I need to try this on, who has keys?
I would try to go back to person that told me, can I help you out with that?
So you wouldn't look for the person with keys?
Yeah, because
So you are probably one of the rare people, but most people would stand next to the dressing room or go to the cashier and say, I need to try these on, can you let me in? And they go, okay, well, let me call somebody to let you in. That's called the law of proximity. You want the person closest to what you want to do to make that happen. So people, hey, can you show me this house? And a lot of times, and I don't know this happens today as much, but I remember back in the day, I would get people standing in front of a house going, hey, I'm standing in front of a house on 4255 Reseda Boulevard. Can you show it to me? I'm here now. And I'm sure I've done it. I'm sure I was like, stay there, I'm on my way, because I wanted the business. And I don't think that's a weird thing to say, because the buyer's agent aspect of it is a world of scarcity. And when you're newer in real estate, or if your real estate isn't crushing it, you don't want to, you have this mindset that that's business and you don't want to let that business go. So you rush out to do things like that. So that being said, that creates a multitude of different problems. When you rush out to show a buyer or show a buyer that is not pre-approved or that you haven't talked to or you haven't vetted, they may not be able to buy the property. They may be trying to do something else, which is not very good. And I take the number two, I think it was the number two realtor in Kentucky, did that exact situation. She was sitting in her office. Somebody called her and said, I need to see this property. I'm here right now. Will you come show it to me? She jumped in her car, went to show her the property, and they murdered her. I hate to say it like that, but that's exactly what happened. And we're actually going to be doing a self-defense class on that, and we have a whole thing we're working on, but that's not what you want to do. This presentation in working with buyers is built around creating boundaries for your business. You have to have standards. There's no lawyer office that you're going to walk into and you're going to say, I need to talk to a lawyer and I'm not filling anything out and you don't get my name. The lawyer would be like, have a nice day, right? A doctor would do the same thing. Anybody that has high levels of standards would do that. I know some real estate agents that would do that. If you called Richard Schulman, he did 300 million in sales. He has a team of like 20 people. He would not just run out and show you a property. If you're like, no, I'll get qualified after I see the home. He'd be like, bye-bye, have a nice day, and move on. And so what I'd like to do with everybody, and especially in this office, is that I'd like you to be able to start working on standards for your business. And what that means, and this is the tough part, is that you're gonna have to say no to some people. You're gonna have to say no to some people that are going to push the boundaries and say, I wanna see the property and then I'll talk to somebody, or I don't wanna get pre-approved, or I don't wanna, or I don't. You're gonna have to politely move forward. Now, some of those people may do business and some people may not. But the thing you have to protect is the one asset on this planet that you will never get back. That is your time. And this hit me really hard when I went out to show a property one time. I found this person on Craigslist. This is when Craigslist was like in its heyday. A lot of buyers and sellers, you probably know what I'm talking about, were on there. You could get buyers and stuff from Craigslist. That's not a thing anymore. But I remember I got this person off Craigslist. I sent them some properties. I was calling, I was talking to them. And I was like, hey, do you want to see this property? And they were like, yes. And so I met them at this property. It was in Northridge. I remember it vividly. I pull up, they pull up behind me, and then somebody pulls up behind them. And the person that pulled up behind them was their realtor. I was so upset, I couldn't even tell you. And I just ended up walking away. But once I put this together, I actually stopped working with buyers as much, and I put up boundaries because I want to create solid relationships with people. And if you remember the slides from yesterday, like 90% of agents out there will work with the person that they worked with before, but like 10% do. And that's because we treat this as a transient business. If you treat it as a relational business and you work on forming deep relationships with people and building your database, you will have a thriving and strong business. And that's what this is about. So let's get into this. Someone calls you and they're like, Ella, I want to see the property. I found this property on Zillow and I think this is the perfect property for me. The first thing that you need to do is establish boundaries with the client. And so this happens all the time. It happens with Tracy. We had one person that wanted to see a property and he was like, it was our listing. So it was like, we could double end it. And they're like, oh, well, we want to see it. And we have other agents that are willing to show it without a pre-approval. We're like, sorry, if you're paying all cash, you need to send me proof of funds, period. And like, we hit that hard stop right there and they ended up begrudgingly sending us proof of funds. And I will say this, when that happens, you have to double check the proof of funds. I had somebody do that. And I took the image. And so on Google, you can search images on Google. Did anybody know that? You can take an image and go to Google image search. And I put the image in and I found a fake copy of a proof of funds, a fake image on Google. I'm like, come on, man. And then I called the guy out and it turned out that he was a weirdo. There's a bigger story around it, which I'm not going to get into. But it's just, you have to vet these people because, and especially with females, like you don't want to go out to these homes by yourself because just some people are just bad. So someone calls you and says, I want to see a property. I want to go see a property. The first thing I say is, have you been pre-approved? Are you working with an agent? And when I say, this is an important part now that I think everybody should know, you need to ask people, are you working with an agent? If they say yes, this is the other important part. Have you signed a contract with this agent? Or are you open to working with other people? Because if they signed a contract, then you don't want to mess with them. If they haven't signed a contract and they're just calling around people, then you need to be able, because this is the thing. If there's not a contract involved, that's nobody's client. And I have a lot of agents that are like, well, that's so-and-so's client because they closed the deal with them years ago. No, that deal's over. That contract is done. So you need to ask them, are you working with somebody or not working with somebody? Because most people just don't follow up. So you ask them if they're working with an agent. You ask them if they've been pre-qualified. And then what I typically say is, when is a good time for us to meet so I can show you how this process works? So now this is something that you should internalize. Say it however you want to say it. You don't have to say it like me. I'm very bold, straightforward, and I say things pretty aggressively because honestly, I didn't have you as a client before you called, and if I don't have you as a client after we talk, I'm fine with that. At the end of the day, I want to protect my time and I want to protect the integrity of my business. And everybody in this business should feel the same way. So I say, hey, who wants to role play with me? It's so much easier if I role play. Who wants to role play? Come on. So, okay, you're a buyer, you want to see a house, okay? Call me. Ring, ring. Hello, this is Frank.
Hi Frank, I'm here at 222 Wilshire and I really like it. I want to see it right now. Can you meet me here?
Hi, what's your name?
Ella.
Oh, Ella, it's so great to meet you. How did you find the property that you're standing in front of right now?
I was just driving around from the side.
Okay, that's awesome. Do you own a home right now? Or do you rent?
I'm renting.
Okay, that's fantastic. Have you ever bought a home before?
No.
Fantastic. Do you understand how this process works to where if this were the house that you want, on how we would move forward in making sure that you get it?
Not really.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is I'm going to look up the information on this property. Because of the way inventory is, most showings are by appointment only. And so I want to make sure that you're best prepared to get this property if this is the property for you. So when is a good time for us to get together? I have some time this afternoon.
Okay, this afternoon.
That's typically the way it should go. You will get people to push back on you. Will get people to, so I want you to push back on me now on that conversation and not want to meet with me and try to get to see the house, okay? So when is a good time for us to meet this afternoon?
How about right now? Just go in the house right now.
You know, unfortunately, I do have a lot of clients and I do have some appointments happening right now and I can't leave right now. And if I did show up, I can't guarantee you we'd be able to see it because like I said, most showings are by appointment only. And I want to make sure I set you up in the best possible way to where if you did love this house, that you could get this house. Keep pushing back.
Call around and- Sure, somebody-
Somebody probably would show you, but I'm not sure if they're gonna be able to give you the value and show you how this process works like I would. And we have some guarantees in place to make sure that you're happy by the end of the transaction. Are you sure I can't sit down with you and we can go through the process?
Sure, push back.
Yeah, push back, keep pushing back.
No, I mean, I want to see it right now. I'm here. I don't want to take time out of my day. If I'm not even gonna like this house, then I'm just gonna move on to another.
You're absolutely correct, and I 100% agree with you. Are you pre-approved to buy the property right now if you saw it and you loved it?
No,
No, okay, so if you're not pre-approved, what I'd like to do is show you how you can get pre-approved, so whether you use me or somebody else, you're able to buy the property when you do see the property. And we can take care of that within the first 30 minutes of us getting together. So this is the key, and I do this script the same way all the time with anything, like an expired listing. It's the same conversation with an expired listing. I have a goal. My goal is to meet with you, and I am not going to come off of my goal, period, at all, ever. And if she comes back and says, I'm really sorry, but I don't want to do that right now. I don't want to get pre-approved right now, and I just want somebody to open the door for me. I cut it off and I'm done. I'm moving forward. If you want to do 20 transactions this year, one deal is not going to kill your business. But the time suck that that deal will take when it doesn't happen will kill your business. Does that make sense? If you find this person, you rush out there, you are now playing to their rules. You don't go into court with an attorney and say, listen, I need you to say this to the judge. I need you to say this to the plaintiff. No. The attorney says, sit down, be quiet, I'll handle this. Trust me, I know this in my divorce thing. Like my attorney was like, don't say a word. I'm like, okay. Like I didn't question them. And when you let the other person drive the relationship, that's where agents get into trouble. I've done it, Tracy's done it, other agents have done it to where they put somebody in their car or they start showing people around in the hope that somebody's going to do a deal. In reality, we don't know what their motivation is. Part of the script that I ask somebody, and I do this when somebody comes in an open house, I'm like, or like just in general, I'm like, are you renting or do you have a home to sell to buy this home first? Because I want to know that. I want to know if this person has something they need to sell, because that's a big deal. Most people won't take a deal on contingency right now. And do they need that money? And so if they say, no, I have a home to sell, okay, great. Do you need the money from that home to buy this next house? These are all things you have to do before you get in front of them. And if they don't want to meet with you, then you need to move on, because buyers, hold on, I'm trying to think, give me a second. I cannot think of any buyer agent out there that is just killing it. Like killing it so bad that I'd want to work with buyers. The money, would everybody agree the money is in listings, right? The money is in listings. If right now, if you get a listing and you come close to pricing it right, you're literally cashing a commission check. The listing agreement is like cashing a commission check. So you need to put your boundaries up with buyers. And this is how you do it. So you have this difficult, now I will tell you this, when you have this conversation and somebody goes, no, thank you, move on. This is going to be a temporary situation. This is my Nostradamus prediction. Because what's going to happen in 3 to 6 months when buyer agency becomes mandatory, there's going to be a bunch of agents that have no clue what they're doing. They're going to run out and start showing properties to people before having a buyer agency signed. There's going to be lawsuits that happen. There's going to be people that lose business, and then people are going to slowly come around to the fact that I have to meet with a buyer before I show them property because I'm going to waste my time. And if you put this practice in place first, it's going to save your business, even though you're probably going to lose business in the beginning. I'm just trying to help. I know it's not a fun thing to talk about, but you have to put standards up in your business. So this is the first step, put standard. You don't meet with anybody unless they're pre-approved, unless they see the value of what you do. Because if they say, I don't want to, I'm just going to go talk to another agent. They're giving you zero value. They're saying everybody has the same amount of value, and that's just not true. So questions about this part? Anybody? Anybody on Zoom, questions about this part?
Somebody named iPhone 2 raised their hand.
Okay, iPhone 2, you have a
They-
question? I don't know who iPhone 2 is.
I have no idea. It just said iPhone 2 and then they unraised their hand. So I'm not
Okay.
sure.
All right, if you have a question on Zoom, type it into the chat box. Sandy is paying attention to that, and we will do our best to answer them. So I want to make sure this part is clear, because in my opinion, this is the accoutrement to the conversation we just had. The presentation is the side dish to the important part, which is you don't work with people who are not pre-approved and are not willing to sit down and meet with you. Okay, all right. If you have other questions as we move forward, let me know. So I set a time with the person. Come on in, 4 o'clock, and this, it doesn't have to be in the office. It could be Starbucks. It could be anywhere, someplace where you can see it's a real person and they're gonna sign a contract. And that's what you're gonna bring a buyer broker contract. And you're going to meet with them. And then you sit down and meet with them, and it's literally just like a listing presentation. So you sit down with somebody and say, hey, I'm Frank, tell me about yourself. Now, if anybody in here has been recruited by me, the way I work my recruiting appointments is very strategically. I say, how are you doing? My name is Frank. Sit down and tell me all about yourself. Because in any type of sales situation, if you say that, that person is going to tell you everything you need to know. And in a buyer and seller situation, you ask those questions. Tell me about yourself, because what they're going to do is they're going to reveal certain things about them. They're going to help you help them. And so the goal is let them talk as much as they want. If they talk for an hour, let them talk for an hour, because in that hour, there's going to be juicy little bits of nuggets of things that you're going to use to help them and close this deal, and they're going to sign the buyer broker agreement. So I say, tell me about yourself. And then I ask them about their buying, like, how long have you thought about buying? What's this for? Do you have something to sell? Blah, blah, all these things. And then I say, okay, I have a presentation to take you through so I can show you what this process is like and how you can benefit from it. Are you ready to go? And they go, yes. And then I go through the presentation. So now I'm not going to go through slide by slide. If you guys have a question about a slide, because this is a very long presentation, if it's just given, because typically people have questions. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have Sandy download it and email it out to everybody. So everybody has this exact presentation. But what I will tell you is customize it to your needs. You do not have to do it specifically the way I have it. It's set up to do a presentation to show values and benefits. And the way I used to do my listing presentation, I would do it in 2 parts, values and benefits. I would do a value thing to say, hey, I'm great. This is my amazing things that I do. And at the end of that, I'd say, am I the person that looks like can sell your home? And when they say yes, I go into the how much is your home worth? If they said, I don't know, I'm going to talk to other agents, we wouldn't talk about their home. So it's a value presentation, and you can structure it however you want. If you want to take it, customize it to your needs, then bring it back to me and give my opinion, I would love it. If not, it's yours. Just don't use it the exact way I'm giving it to you. Okay?
We have 2 remarks.
Yes.
Matthew would love to see a BRBC class with you in the future.
Awesome. I would love to
Kayla
do it.
raised her hand.
Yep.
So Frank,
Kayla-
yes. Hi, Frank,
Yeah.
I have a question. So whatever you say, I usually do hosting the open house. I ask, do you have an agent to work with, and then also usually I start talking. So how long are you guys looking for the property, and, and then what's your criteria? And I kind of like asking all the question that you gonna meet the person in the Starbucks, whatever. But
Yeah.
it's, it's just the open house. It's not like appointment, anything. So, and then usually next day I follow up them, just briefly, I send it to MLS information texting. And then so if you don't really, text me back or email me back, just try let go, because, that point, most of people don't, I mean, if they have a pre-approved, I usually chasing them, but like if they don't, it's just next day I follow up everything, and if they didn't respond to me back, and then just try let go and then just put in my database, that's it? Or what should I do?
So if you meet somebody in an open house or somebody in person to begin with,
Yes.
the key is aggressive follow-up. So like if I met somebody in an open house, I would find them on Facebook. I would follow up with them saying, hey, and I would basically tell them like what's happening with that property. So like if they don't get back to me, I would say, hey, guess what? The property's still on the market. If you're interested in this or something in the neighborhood, let me know. But I would
Mhm.
basically follow up with them aggressively through email, through text message, through social media, and just, and that's just it. You just have to put people into your database and then just, I don't know how else to say this without sounding too aggressive, but you have to be too aggressive. Because being
Okay.
less aggressive is not gonna get you anywhere. Because if
Got it.
they're to you and they're looking at open houses, they're talking to other agents. And at the end of the
Yes.
day, most agents are not going to follow up very well. If you're aggressive and follow up, I've had people tell me, the only reason you're standing in front of me, Frank, is because you followed up more than anybody else. And
Got it.
when I say aggressive follow-up, I mean frequent, but professional. Like if somebody doesn't text you back or message you back, don't get mad. Like you don't know what's going on in that person's life. Like they're taking emotion off the table when it comes to business. You ever see that cat video of where it like has the cat on the typing like that? Like too many agents get upset and worry and they feel like somebody's ghosting them or they're upset or whatever. You got to take that off the table, put them in your database and just frequently, aggressively follow up with them with no expectation of a response.
Okay.
You're giving
Thank you.
value, you're giving information, you're giving value, you're giving information. And we've done that. We had a client that closed like 6 deals with us that we followed up and messaged them for over a year. No communication back, like never responded to us. Called us up, hey, can we see this property? Got them in front of the property, ended up buying 6 properties with us. So it's like just that's all you can do when you meet somebody. And I would say this is anybody you meet. You put in your database, you just follow up with them. Follow up, follow up, follow up. That help?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. All right, so you sit somebody down, you say, okay, this is my VIP buyer presentation. You can call it whatever you want to call it. This is my Keller Williams, I'm the greatest agent in the world presentation. You call it whatever you want, doesn't matter. The key is you're going to take them through specific processes here. So this is my VIP buyer's presentation, making your home buying dreams come true. Haha, I always make jokes. So if they rent, I go through the rent accumulator with them. I say, so if you're renting, I just want to show you the value of owning versus renting. And it basically, if you're paying $3,000 a month, I know you're probably paying like 45 or 5, but let's just start low with 3,000. In 1 year, that's $36,000 that you're paying in rent. And I go through this whole thing, and then I say over 15 years, that's $540,000 that you could be building an equity in a home. And I go over this with them and answer any questions about certain things. The one big benefit to renting versus owning is that you don't have to make any repairs in a property, but you also don't build equity. Oh, here we go. And then I go, the benefits of working with a buyer. We call this in the real estate industry buyer agency. I go through this. MLS search, we have contract to close, we have representation, automated searches, we negotiate for you. I go through all these things and I throw in like any special things that I do that nobody else does. This is your opportunity to show someone your value and what separates you from everybody else. Benefits of working with a buyer agent, because I know it's very attractive to go to a seller and ask the seller to represent you in the purchase of a contract. But did you know that they don't have a fiduciary right to represent you first? They have to represent the seller first and have their best interest at heart. And there may be a commission deal on the back end where they don't make as much money, so there's not as much benefit, but we don't know that. But these are the benefits. And then I go through all of these benefits. You can add to this if you have more. And I have check marks on the right to say buyer agency does all of these, sellers don't do any of this. Make sense? And I go, as a home buying specialist, we will help you. We'll help you find the best home for your needs. We'll negotiate the lowest price, secure the best financing, and we'll meet your home buying needs with the least amount of hassle. I say least because I don't know what that other dude on the other end of the transaction is going to do. But it's my job to make sure that this is as smooth as it can possibly be. And the way we do that is through communication. I communicate with you more than anybody else on this planet. And so this is not in the presentation, but this is what I do in the presentations when I've worked with people on my own, is that I tell people I have a communication guarantee, that I will follow up with you on a weekly basis on what's happening with this transaction, or I'll take $1,000 off of my commission for every week I don't. If you do something like that, no other real estate agent's gonna do that. And even if there's nothing going on, you call them and say, hey, I just wanna follow up with you and make sure you have all the information and blah, 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 see if you have any questions. You should just be doing that normally. And I tell people, I do this because you shouldn't have to be accountable to me, I should be accountable to you. And I should hold myself accountable, and that's why I do this. Typically, none of our services cost you a penny. I say typically because I don't know if you've seen the commission lawsuits and all those things that are happening out there. There's change happening in the industry, and there is a chance that we could come across a property that does not offer a commission for what we're doing. And if that happens, we will have that conversation and I will talk you through it, but that's not something that's happening right now. So for all intents and purposes, everything that I do for you is not going to cost you a dime. Are you okay with that? The ABCs of real estate services. This is what most realtors do, and I want to make sure you're educated. A, they advertise a home in order to get you to call them. B, they pay you to come in and talk to them. C, they choose a bunch of homes they think you'll like. D, they drive you from house to house showing you dozens of homes. And E, they encourage you to make an offer on every house you see. F, they feel frustrated because the homes are not to your liking. And G, they get on their knees and pray you will buy something after all of their hard work. In contrast, our home buying system focuses on your needs. To ensure that you will find the best house for the lowest price with the best possible financing and the least hassle, we will. Step one, we'll find out how much home you can afford by helping you get a home loan pre-approval. That is really important because nobody's going to want to show you or take you seriously if you don't. Step two, we're going to send you information on the homes that match your criteria through a unique buyer profile service. My unique buyer profile service, you can call that whatever you want. You're going to understand what that is in a second, but you can call that whatever you want. That's just what I call it. Three, we're going to help you get you the home you want using our specialized knowledge. At each step, you will benefit from our innovative consumer programs, all of which are free to you. Step one, home loan pre-approval. Now, if you've done this the right way, you will have your lender literally right next to you while you're doing this presentation. And then you can let him take over at some level to help close this situation. What I've done in the past is I said, step one is home loan pre-approval. I work with, let's say Oscar, at the time it wasn't Oscar, but I was just like, I work with Oscar with Rocket Mortgage and he's here and I'm gonna let him talk to you for a few minutes. Can I get anybody some water? No, I'm good, I don't need water. Okay, I'm gonna get myself some water. I'll be back in a few minutes, Oscar. I get up and I walk out and I let Oscar do his thing, right? And basically what you're doing now is something no agents do, is they show that you have a team behind you and that they're helping you. How much house can you afford? And so Oscar would typically go through the rest of this. How much house can you afford? Home loan pre-approval and three easy benefits. One, you know exactly how much you can afford. Two, you get the best financing. And then three, you can make a stronger offer. So you can do this if you don't have a lender with you. But what you can do is you can say, okay, I'm going to connect you with my lender so he can give you all the details of all of this information that I'm going through. And then you give it to him right then and there. You have some mortgage stuff that you can slide across the table to him, and then you just go through the rest of the presentation. You can make a stronger offer. So just in contrast, to give you some examples, buyer A has 1.15 million cash offer, no condition. Buyer B has 1.15 million, but it's conditional upon financing. Which offer would you accept? All cash. You take all cash, right? Of course. So pre-approval, it's easy as 1, 2, 3. A home loan credit report is generated. And so what I do is I ask them, do you know how this works or have you ever been pre-approved before? And they go, yes. If they go no, I go, great, let me show you how that works. If they go no, if they go yes, I go, okay, great. Then you'll know what this means. Keep in mind, they don't always tell the truth. A lot of times people will say, how much do you charge in commission? I'll go, that's a great question. Do you know how commission works? They go, yes. Can you explain it again? Because they don't want to seem dumb. People don't want to seem stupid. So they're going to say things that they want you to hear. Have you ever been pre-approved before? Yes. Okay, great. So you'll know how this works when I explain it to you again. That's usually what I say. So it's Pre-approval is easy as 1, 2, 3. Again, you can change the verbiage and all of this stuff if you want to. A home loan credit report is generated by the credit bureau. Financial details are verified and all the information is reported to the underwriter for approval. Then you're approved. It's literally that easy. We can do it in just one afternoon. Does that make sense? I always say, does that make sense? Do you have any questions? Step 2, the buyer profile service. So what are you looking for in a home? This is so important, I can't even explain it to you. That's what I say to them. The multiple listing service. Have you ever worked with the multiple listing service? Let me see what they say. The MLS has all the information on thousands of homes for sale by all companies. I can even, and this is something I add, I can even get you distressed properties, company-owned properties, or foreclosures. And so if somebody ever says, yes, I'm working with another agent, and I go, did you sign a contract? They're there, and they say no. I say, well, are they able to get you foreclosures, company-owned properties, and distressed properties? Because I can't disparage the other agent, but I can create doubt. So I really don't know what that guy's doing. So I can say, I can get you these things. Can that person do that? So I tell them about, for sale by all companies. This is where everybody goes to find their properties. Thousands of homes that you can pick from. And this is how most realtors pick houses. They make a random search through the MLS, they pick 6 to 8 homes, and they try to sell you one of them. The wrong person is deciding on which homes you'll get to see. And I say, it's like pulling a rabbit out of a hat. The solution, did I go too far? No. The solution is our one-of-a-kind buyer profile system gives buyers priority access to hot new listings that match their home buyer criteria. That sounds cool, right? I do all these little tie downs at the end of my conversations. What we do is we put you in control. Your home buying criteria is entered into our custom computer database. Every evening, our custom computer searches the MLS to find homes that match your specific criteria. Now, this sounds silly to us. It does not sound silly to them because we know our custom computer database is just the MLS. They don't know how this works. What you're trying to do is you're trying to separate yourself from the pack, that you're doing something more special than anybody else. We put you in control. We only send you the homes that match your criteria. And if you want to change your criteria at any time, I can help you do that. You can pick the homes that you like and I think I admitted that, and drive by them. We put you in control. When you see a home that you want to look at, you give us a call and we'll arrange a showing. As long as you iterate this, you're going to mitigate the amount of phone calls that they call other agents. I cannot tell you how many times I've had buyers call the other agents, and then I have agents try to steal my client. It happens all the time. It will happen in the future. There is no pressure to buy. I continually say that through the thing. There's no pressure to buy. I want to make sure you're 100% happy. You are in control, which means no more wasted time searching through the internet for homes. You get automatic access to hot new listings before other buyers. No more wasted time viewing homes a real estate agent has picked out that don't interest you. You only receive homes that match your criteria and you pick the homes you want to see. No more pressure. Most agents pick 6 to 8 homes and try to sell you one of them. You pick out as many homes as you want to see, and there's never any pressure to buy. No more overpaying for the home you want, which has happened in a number of years. You're going to get the home you want, and you're going to be happy. That's our goal. Because you beat out the other buyers, you can negotiate the best possible price. Step 3 is our specialized knowledge. Specialized knowledge. We help you prepare an offer that meets your needs. Now, this is a part where I would encourage you to elaborate as much as possible for the simple fact that most people will go for sale by owner or they'll try to skip you because they don't realize how much work you do on the end, on the inside of all the deals. And what I talked about before, one of the things that you should create is a menu of services. Like we could sit here and have a conversation right now to where I could ask you, what are some of the things that you do in the home buying process, right? And you could create a menu of services of all the things that you do. So if you create a menu of services, you can take this and put your menu of services on there of all the things that you do on the back end. Like you have a TC that works for you that you pay for that they don't have to pay for. You know, that you have a vendor list of all these people that will help you with deals and doing inspections and all of these different things. There's just a ton of things that you do, and you want to put that on the menu of services. And so this is a small version of that. I would suggest changing this and making this your menu. Help you prepare an offer to meet your needs, present the offer on your behalf to the seller, and then negotiate all terms and conditions of the offer in your best interest. Because legally, I have a fiduciary right to represent you in the best possible light so you get what you want. Too many agents make decisions for their clients. Have you guys seen that in the past? Agents will make decisions. Like I remember telling an agent, my people want to counter you at 1.5. And the agent goes, no, we don't accept it. I said, oh, wow, that was really, you talked to your client that fast. He was like, what? I go, you have to present that to your client. You have to, I said, I'll fax it over to you. I did real estate when we had fax machines, but I just dated myself. No, I said, I'll send it over to you, but you have to present it to your clients. So negotiate all terms and conditions of the offer in the client's best interest. I just want to go back to this. This part is super important because this is where a lot of your value is that they don't get that you're doing all of this for free. So as much as you can put together information so people know that this is your value and that you're going to do this on their benefit and the seller's agent is not going to do it as well as you because their fiduciary responsibility is to the listing agent. In summary, how you benefit. You get pre-qualified free of charge for a home loan and get access to special financing. With Oscar, it is free. I actually had a lender try to charge my clients without talking to us first. Like the app, it was like $60 or $90 for like the application. Right? Never heard of that either. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, oh yeah, it's a new industry standard. I'm like, hey, is this a new industry standard? Oh, it's not. Okay, good. Hey, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, it was super weird. But if you're not working with Oscar, you need to make sure you know, is there any fees that my clients are going to have to pay beforehand? Because there's like, you know, there's appraisal and there might be some weird fees in there. You just want to make sure that all the fees on the back end are clear with whatever lender you're using. You can afford more home for your money. You automatically receive the best new listings that match your criteria before the average buyer knows about them. You can beat out other buyers to hot new listings. You are backed by our specialized knowledge and you get the house that you want at the lowest possible price. None of these valuable services cost you a penny. All we ask in return is your loyalty. This is where you tie them down. So this is a VIP buyer agreement that I had back in the day. This is your buyer broker agreement. So you can take this out and put a picture of the buyer broker agreement. And you can just say, I am not allowed to show you a property without having this signed. You have to be represented by somebody.
We have a question.
Yes,
Can we see an example of your menu of services?
I can send that out later. I do not have that in front of me right now. Who asked that?
Matthew,
Matt, I will get that to you. So this is a VIP buyer agreement. So you don't get them to sign it yet. You just show them the copy of it. This is the copy of the contract that allows me to work with you. Your term and what you say is super important. What do you say? What do you say and do when you come across homes on your own? This is so important. And this is the one thing that I would tell people, in addition to that, is that if an agent am I boring you?
No.
Just kidding. If an agent tells you that they cannot get the house unless they write the offer through them, tell them that's a lie. That's unethical, that they can't do that. Because I have had, there's a major agent out there, I'm not even gonna say the area that this person works in because I would out them the second I said it. But there's a specific area where one of the top three agents did that to a client in my office. I was like, what? That person didn't do that. Absolutely did that.
What did you do?
He said, my agent sent his client to an open house and the agent was there and the agent said, he said, we love this house. We're gonna go back to my agent and we're gonna write an offer. And the guy at the open house said, well, if you do that, you're not gonna get the house. You have to write the offer through me.
Wow.
Yeah, they-
I thought, wow, too. This happened in 2017. And other agents have done it. So that happens. And the key is that you have to educate your people that this might happen. And if somebody says that to you, that's not true, come back to me and we'll work it out. That's why you hire me. So what you say when you come across the open house on your own. If you see a home you like online or while driving by, feel free to call or text me anytime. If you do speak to an agent, always tell them that you're working with us. This will prevent you from being hounded by other agents with questions and sales pitches. What to say? Get the price and if available address or MLS number and we'll send you the complete information. If you see a house you want to look at, always call us for appointments. The key is that let them go do their thing, but they always have to come back to you, right? You never want to say, don't do this. If you have children, you don't tell them what to do because they just won't listen to you. Buyers are the same way. Don't tell them not to do something. Say, if you do that, this is what you do. This is the process. You're teaching them the process. The next step, property sold. So this is something I have is that $5,000 cash savings buyer guarantee. And this says, you will obtain written pre-approval for a home loan, lending, blah, 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 within 21 days of this guarantee. I put this whole thing to make myself look special. It's nothing special. It just kind of makes me look different than everybody else. The great thing about working with me is that even though you have to sign a contract to work with me, if you want to cancel at any time, all you have to do is shoot me a text message or an email or give me a call, and we can cancel this agreement at any time and no cost to you. That is the secret sauce to getting a buyer agency signed, is that you have to let them know, listen, you don't have to call me. You can text me, you can email me, but if you want to cancel, just let me know. Is that it?
So,
That's it. So I drew up this cancellation guarantee. You can outline the cancellation guarantee there's a cancellation box in the broker agreement. So you can outline that. I drew this one up special like in 2007 or 2008. The key is to make sure that they feel safe working with you and that they choose you. If you get through all of this and they won't sign it, then don't work with them. Don't work with them. And if you get through all of this and they don't sign it, you follow up with them. Follow up, follow up, follow up, follow up. I did a buyer presentation with a client and they were so I had a listing. It was a $1.2 million listing in Knollwood in Granada Hills. And these people called me, they said, hey, we're only calling listing agents and we want to see your property. I said, fantastic. Showed up to the property, it was my house. I gave them a little presentation in front of the house. I had a little iPad thing and I did a little presentation in front of the house. And they went through the entire house and I said, I would love to work with you. If this is not the house for you, blah, blah, blah. I tried to get them to sign it. They said, nope, not at all. We're not doing it. We're only working with listing agents. I said, fantastic. If you ever need anything, please give me a call. Bam, let them go. Followed up with them. Email, email, email. Text, text, text. Call, call, call. Never responded to me. Not one damn thing. Never, nothing. One day, I'm driving my car down the street. I get a phone call. And the wife calls me and says, Frank, what is wrong with all these agents? And I go, Phaedra? She's like, yeah. She goes, Mark's right here with me. I go, oh, hey, how are you guys doing? I'm like, did you guys find a house? I know they didn't find a house. They wouldn't be calling me, right? I'm like, did you guys find a house? Like, no, none of these guys know what they're doing. I go, I know, right? And she goes, and then I hear Mark say something. I go, I didn't hear what Mark said. He goes, he's not going to say it on the phone, but can you help us? Can you please help us? I said, absolutely, 100%. When's a good time for us to meet? I have time this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Great, fantastic. See you, 3 o'clock. Bam, done deal. And then we went on this. I showed him probably 10 houses. And then one day, 6 o'clock at night, I'm sitting in front of my computer. I'm just sitting there. I have the MLS. I'm going through with all these properties, whatever. And this property pops up. Bing! And I go, oh, wow, that looks just like the house I think they would like. This looks like their house. This is really cool. I think they would really like this house. And it happened to be listed literally with somebody in my office. I'm like, oh, I got up from my seat, walked down the hallway to the other office, knocked on the guy's door. I said, hey, Bill, this house, what happened? He goes, oh, well, this happened because they fell out of escrow is what happened. And he goes, we fell out of escrow on this and this. And I said, I think my people are going to really like it. I walked back to my desk, sat down, my phone rang, it was Phaedra. Oh, she did a house in Granada Hills? I go, yes. She goes, can we go see it? I go, yes. We went and saw it, and her husband couldn't come. And so we walked around the entire house, and like halfway through, she turns and looks at me. She's like, yo, stop doing, don't do that in front of the other agent. And so we ended up writing an offer. We wrote an entire offer. The husband didn't even see it until the day of the inspection. He's like, I'm excited to see this house that I bought that I have never seen before. But the thing is that they saw the value, and I did the presentation on the front end to where they went out and talked to all of these other agents, and they saw kind of like haphazardly how these people were doing their business, which is basically how everybody's doing their business. And so I brought them value on the front end. I kept my standard, and I walked away from them when they were like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, great. I didn't say, well, you know, blah, blah. I didn't try to negotiate with them. I was like, great. Good luck to you guys. If you need anything, give me a call. And so, yes,
The wife signed for the husband?
no, we docu-signed it to the husband. The husband signed all the contracts and everything.
Not the other.
Yeah, so he signed everything without seeing the property, and then he shows up at the inspection. And like, I brought coffee for everybody, and he was just like shaking his head. I'm like, this is not her. Like, don't look at me. Like, but they are in our database today, and they're actually dentists.
We have a few comments.
Yes, what do we have?
Might be delayed, but it says, doesn't that defeat the purpose of the BRPC? They cancel and then work with another agent and you lose all protection, correct?
That is correct, but it helps the opposite problem to where you don't have them sign anything, and then they just do that exact same thing. When you get them to sign it, because they don't want to, you don't want to have them feel like they're locked into a contract. So you offer them a cancellation, and as long as you do what you're supposed to do and you show the value, I found that more people will not cancel it and go with somebody else. And it really comes down to how much you communicate with them. If you have open line of communication, and what I also do with the cancellation is that I said, this protects you and me to where if I don't feel like the relationship is moving forward, I can cancel it as well. And so I turn it around on them and make it so like, listen, I have the ability to cancel just like you have the ability to cancel, because this is a relationship, right? So we're getting into a relationship together. And if I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I don't expect you to work for me. I don't expect to work for you. And so that's kind of, I hope that answers the question.
And then Rosa said, even if they said they have an agent, question mark?
Well, so what they say, so I covered this in the beginning. If they say they have an agent, the next question is, have you signed a contract exclusively working with that agent? If they have not signed a contract, then technically they are not contractually obligated to work with that agent. Now, I have met some agents that are like, well, I'm not going to steal someone's client. So this comes back to being an attorney, is that I can guarantee you that if you have a written agreement, if you do not have a written agreement with an attorney asks you this question, that attorney will definitely take that client. Because contractually, you are not bound to anybody unless you sign a contract. So if you choose to not work with somebody because they say they're working with somebody, then that's your choice. That's your choice as a business person. But I always ask, are you working with another agent? Yes. Have you signed a contract exclusively tying you to that agent, or are you open to working with other people? Because in reality, most people are open to working with other people and they haven't signed anything. And you have to ask, I feel like you have to ask that question moving forward in this atmosphere on what's happening, because yesterday, when I asked everybody, raise your hand if you want to make buyer agency mandatory in West Side, everybody raise their hand. I did that kind of as a tongue-in-cheek thing because it's happening. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. So if you start doing this now, it's only going to benefit you because everybody in the real estate industry lags. They fall behind in everything. And like social media and technology is a perfect example. But they're typically behind in everything. So what you want to do is you start establishing this right now. And if you struggle with it, you're not struggling with finding the buyers and getting them to sign it. What you're struggling with is the volume of people that you're talking to. If you increase the volume of people you're talking to, if you're working with 3 people under buyer agency agreements and 2 people tell you no, then you're not really worried about those 2 people because you already got 3 people working with you. It's the same with listings. Like there's a scarcity factor to it that is solved by volume. And what I mean by that is that however many people you're contacting today, if your business is not where you need it to be, you need to exponentially grow that number of how many people you're contacting because then the business will come. Hope that makes sense. What, any other questions?
Yeah, Frank.
Yes.
All of this.
Yeah.
To include the buyer agreement and the counselor, it's all in your VIP presentation package, or you have this on the Keller Williams website?
So so what I've typically done is I've had a binder presentation to where I'll go through it with them in front of them like that. And then I'll have the buyer agency agreement. I've done it on iPad where I've slid it on the iPad and then I have the buyer agency agreement printed out. What I would do, and I'm going to talk to Tracy about doing this. What I would do is I would put together a presentation similar to this. Again, don't exactly copy mine. Make it super fancy and do a video presentation and put it on your website. Say the things that I do for my buyers that nobody else does. And then what you can do is you can send that as a link out to people so they can see your buyer presentation.
We can't copy.
You can copy, but what I'm saying is you can 100% copy mine, but mine is very retro because I haven't done this in a while because I don't like working with buyers. Tracy doesn't like working with buyers. And if we work with a buyer, like we almost make them take a blood oath that they have to use us because we're that close with them. And like we had a buyer not too long ago that we just fired. And it's just like, we don't work with a lot of buyers, so we've never really put a heavy presence on the presentation aspect of it. But I think you're going to start having to. So what I would do is I would take this and make it your own. Make it your own colors, make it your own sayings, say it in your own voice. Do all of those things because you want it to come off. So like I did this so quickly, I could sit there, we could talk for an hour on this whole thing because I could go through each slide and tell you stories and all these different things. Because what I want to do is I want to show you value and I want to get you tied to me. And this is like the first date. When you go on a first date, like you go on a first date with somebody, you want to put your best foot forward, make the best impression, tell all the really cool stories about you that you've told people and like make them really like you. Like this guy, like I really want to work with this guy. That's what you want. That's what this is for. I don't think you can do that if you show my presentation because I'm going to be like, listen, like when you do my presentation, and I do that in front of you, if you're a buyer, you're going to get the impression this guy doesn't need to work with me because that's what I'm trying to do. I don't need you. But I can help you and I will get you what you want. That's what I've worked on putting together. But as long as you put together the menu of services, the process on how easy you can make it, like that's what will tie someone to you and be like, wow, this person is really knowledgeable. Because that's what you want. Instead of just like the 99-cent realtor that runs out and shows property to anybody haphazardly and then never calls you back because you didn't follow up, right?
And then what do we do, and I know we're trying to develop relationships, but what do we do regarding, I didn't see anything for the commission as far as, are we guaranteed that the listing, that the seller is going to pay the commission for the buyers? Or, oh, you had that in there?
Yeah, so right here, what I said at the very beginning,
Yes, sir.
I said, right here. So I go through this thing and I talk about, I go, help you get the home that you want with specialized knowledge. Oh, hold on. Did I just mess up here? What did I do?
But you had it in there.
I did, I saw it. What did I do with it? I feel like I hit a slide accidentally. There it is. What happened to my slide?
It's going crazy.
Okay.
Okay, it's in there.
All right, it says typically,
If the seller don't pay.
this is all messed up. It's, so there's a thing that says typically, all of these services are free or something. Can you find it? Like, see if you can get up there. And I put in there typically, and I say, do you know about the commission lawsuits that have happened recently? I said, right now, most sellers are paying the buyer agent commission through the agency. And if that changes during this process, I'll let you know. Because there's a chance that we could come across the property that is not offering anything, and then we have a way to solve that. So you don't have to pay any money out of your pocket. And then so I explained that on the back end, because typically it doesn't cost anything, not right now, but that is gonna change, and you can probably go into the MLS right now and find people that are offering like $500. But so let's address that, because it would suck to get somebody in the house and only get paid $500. But it's your job as a fiduciary to help that person regardless of that. And what I would say is that if you come into a situation with that, you have to offer them other ways to pay your commission, which can be through the lender and through other creative ways, which we're going to end up talking more about in the future. But if you end up closing a deal and you get paid $500 to nothing, right? I don't want you to look at that as 100% loss, because you did do work, you did do all this stuff, you did not get paid what you should have gotten paid. But what you did do is you probably developed a relationship that will last you for a very long time and then will yield you more business in the future. And so you should embrace that, make sure everybody in the process knows the situation. Because if everybody knows the situation and that you did all this work and got them their dream home that they are probably gonna have for like 20 plus years, they're probably gonna be indebted to you. And it's gonna create a stronger bond in the relationship, even though it's a terrible situation. Does that make sense? Yes,
This relationship aside,
yeah,
the buyer is looking at it from business point of view.
yeah.
So you haven't really clearly told the buyer yet that you're gonna pay me 2.5%.
Well, because you haven't come across that situation yet. And so what you do is, typically these services don't cost you a dime. There are an instance that it could happen in the future, but right now we don't see that. If this situation comes up, we'll have that conversation.
But I want you to know, I'm not paying the 2.5%.
But I've never, so I haven't put you in a position to tell me that yet.
I know, but.
Yeah. But,
It's gonna happen.
So this is
Right.
another thing that you're not clarifying this to the buyer when you're signing.
because I'm trying to get him to sign a buyer broker, so when that does happen, because when somebody says, I don't want to pay you 2.5%, they don't understand how that's gonna work. Because if you said that I'm not paying you 2.5%, my question to you would be, how would you pay me 2.5% if you could? What would you say?
Typically, this is collected from the seller.
Right, but if you were to pay me, how would you do that? Do you even know how you would pay me?
I don't even have that one.
How do you know?
When you get to this conversation, it's completely.
Well, so the real,
The buyer to the
but see,
corner.
because you're a real estate agent, you're answering it differently than if you were a person, because the person, when I say, how would you pay me that? Their answer is like, I don't know. Because they don't know.
Well,
You're like, I don't have the money. And the thing is you don't need to have the money. I'm gonna roll it into your loan,
yeah, exactly.
right? So there's different,
Under 2.5%.
yeah. Do you want the house? It's, so 2.5% on an $800,000 house is less than $24,000.
So you add it to the principal amount of the loan.
Well, I mean, that's one way. There's different ways. So the thing is this is a negotiation.
It goes on the loan, but how are you gonna?
So,
Escrow.
yeah, through escrow.
Yeah, but
So
budgeted.
it gets filed in a different situation and there's a way to do it. I know of one person that's done it, and I think I did it a long time ago, but I don't know as far as how it's structured now, but the buyer can pay your commission and it can go through the loan. I
Now-
just don't know the details of how that works right now.
Now, Frank, on short sales
Mhm.
and well, really short sales and maybe REO, I believe the lender pays the commission
Depends.
to yeah, it depends. So couldn't the lender, okay, I'm representing the buyer, go ahead from there, whatever they have, and go ahead and pay the commission? In lieu of the buyer adding it to their loan and making their loan higher.
So the answer is that there's many ways to make it happen. But this is the thing, is that it's not gonna be the same for everybody. Some people are not gonna be able to make that work, like some people are not gonna get that lowest interest rate. Like there's a lot of different variables and it really depends on that specific person. So it's really hard to have that conversation. What you wanna do right now is you wanna prepare them that typically these services don't cost you a dime. And if a situation comes up to where I'm not getting paid by the other person, we'll talk about how that's gonna work. Because honestly, I can't talk about how that's gonna work, because I don't know how it's gonna work for them. And so we have to prepare them for that. So you guys are trying to prepare for a situation that hasn't happened yet, like what if? Like, we don't know yet. And so, and to be honest with you, very few people have come into this situation in general. So it's one of those things that we're gonna have to play with as we move forward. But at the end of the day, there are ways to solve it. And it's gonna depend on that person and that lender, because guess what? Oscar's great, I know he knows how to do it, but you're gonna encounter a buyer that has a lender that they wanna work with. And we don't know what options that buyer has. We had a buyer that wanted to work with our credit union. Well, a credit union is not as easy to deal with as a mortgage broker. And they lost out on houses because of their lender. And so every situation is gonna be a little bit different. Does that make sense? Yes,
We have a question.
yes.
For the buyer to pay our commission through the loan, would the home need to appraise for the additional amount in order to tack it on the loan?
That's a lender question. I don't have that answer right now. I want to say, I am not gonna answer that because I want to incriminate myself. I will find out. These are a lot of things, like I said, they're what if situations moving down the road. They're not typically happening. But as they start happening and as I know that there's gonna be lawsuits and arbitrations and different things that come out. We're gonna have to end up figuring this out as an industry. And I think that there's gonna be different programs that lenders offer to help us out with those situations. Just because it's gonna impact our industry in a lot of different ways, because I'm not gonna guess that everybody in the industry is as smart as all of my agents. And they're not gonna, like, no, I don't know anybody teaching this class and trying to answer these questions. So when you have an independent, small brokerage, mom and pop brokers out there doing their own thing, those are the people that I'm scared of. Like, because they are kind of on the back end of learning about all this stuff, and it's gonna be the Wild West, I think, for a little while, so we have to kind of be careful. What else do we got? Anything? Any questions or anything before we wrap this up? We can talk about this all day. We could really talk about it all day. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming. I hope everybody has a fantastic day. I messed up my slide somehow.
I don't know.
I couldn't find it. I think I pushed something wrong. I messed it up.